Hello and good evening. My name's Virginia Johnson, and I'm Artistic Director of Dance Theater of Harlem. And I want to welcome you to this Winterside Chat. We're going to be talking about Arthur Mitchell's lecture demonstration. It's one of the things that Dance Theater of Harlem dancers have done since the very beginning and continue to do today. It's an amazing tool that was used by Arthur Mitchell. We'll learn more about it. But first, I want to give us a chance to sample a little bit of the lecture demonstration. Let's roll that tape.
Hi, everybody.
To interest young people in the dance, Mitchell has developed a program that presents an introduction to ballet, followed by several performances in costume.
Now, before we go into the actual performance, what we'd like to do is show you part of what goes into the making of a dance artist. Contrary to what most people believe, a performance does not just happen. There are many hours, weeks, months, and years of hard work involved.
Yes, so that's a sampler. It was taken from the 60 Minutes program about Dance Theater of Harlem that was created a couple of years ago. I want to introduce you to a fabulous panel that we have today. We have dancers from many generations of Dance Theater of Harlem. I'm going to ask them all to introduce themselves. Let's start with Gayle.
Well, good evening. My name is Gayle McKinney Griffith. I'm one of the original dancers from way back in the beginning with Virginia. And we're here to honor Mr. Mitchell and his wonderful lecture demonstrations. So I hope that you can point us out. Those are very old films.
Yes, you're going to see both Gayle and me in this videotape. So see if you can recognize us. Karen, you're next up.
Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Karen Brown. I'm coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri. And I was a member of the Dance Theater of Harlem from 1973 to 1995. I'm thrilled to be here, talk about the lecture demonstration and reminisce with all of my colleagues.
Thank you, Karen. Sanforde.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sanforde Placide. I am currently a company artist with the Dance Theater of Harlem. And today I'm joining you all from the Dance Theater of Harlem building. And I'm so excited to talk about the lecture demonstration, which we have performed in so many cities around the country. So.
Thank you. And next up is Christopher.
Hey everyone, I'm Christopher Charles McDaniel. I too am a company artist with Dance Theater of Harlem. I joined the school in 2001 and danced for the ensemble as well. And I'm very thrilled to be with the company currently. I am presently in the building in the very sacred space that I call the portrait studio, sitting in front of Mr. Mitchell. So I'm thrilled to be with you all tonight.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. Endalyn Taylor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Endalyn Taylor, and I am currently in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. I was with Dance Theater of Harlem as a dancer from 1984 to 1997, and then again from 2005 to 2014 as the community engagement co-director and also the school director. So it's wonderful to be here today on this wonderful panel with former students and peers and colleagues, and I'm just thrilled to be in community with you this evening.
Thank you, Endalyn. And Vince Collins.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vince Collins, and I was with this Dance Theater of Harlem from 1982 to, well, I'm still with Dance Theater of Harlem.
That's right,
As
forever.
a dancer. I left the company in 2000, and I toured again with the company in 2013 doing outreach in Israel. So that was my last trip with the company. But you see me now, and I'm excited to talk about the lecture demonstration.
It's wonderful, wonderful to see you and to be with all of you. Yes, we're all family. Once you're part of Dance Theater Harlem, you're kind of always part of Dance Theater Harlem. So, so the lecture demonstration, it had a lot of purposes. It was around for a lot of reasons. I know that when I first came to the company and Gayle was there and Yanchi and Lydia, Jerry Banks, we all came from different places and we had to be made into a company. And it was always my thought that Arthur Mitchell made us do those lecture demonstrations in front of people to make us all learn how to be one company. Is there a picture that we can show of a lecture demonstration? I think that I might have skipped past that. What it is it starts with dancers standing at the bar in leotard and tights, no warm-ups, nothing to hide. Nowadays, the company gets to wear morellas, which have pretty little skirts. But back in the day, we had to wear powder blue leotards that showed everything. And the test was to make sure that you were matching and you were moving as one person. So tell me a little bit about what you think the other purposes of this lecture demonstration are. Any thoughts?
Well, I'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the lecture demonstration was the opportunity to see a pathway to Dance Theater of Harlem in the company, which was a goal of mine. They came to my hometown, and just seeing what it took to be a dancer, and also to experience Arthur Mitchell and all of his amazing explanation of what it took to be a dancer. So for me, it was the pipeline. How do I get from my seat, because I was part of the audience at that point, how do I get from my seat to that stage? And in an hour, I went through this whole process of dreaming. I thought it was in a dream. And I recognized at that point, it is possible for me to one day achieve this goal.
Christopher, I think you probably have something to say about that too, huh?
Well, as Vince was saying that, I was like, no wonder we're so connected, because that's my exact same story. I saw the LEC demo here in Harlem at Aaron Davis Hall on a school field trip. And that speaks to, the arts in public schools, because there was a connection there. And so I sat there seeing like, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do. I had never seen ballet before, but the way it was explained, seeing all these beautiful people standing in this regal way, I just knew if I got to do that, I could be something bigger than whoever I thought I had to be growing up in the projects. So, then that led to auditioning for the school, and to now be leading the LEC demo with our company is like this full circle epic DTH story. This is what Mr. Mitchell wanted, this LEC demo to inspire someone to then do it. So, so I'm with you on that. That's incredible.
Karen, you were going to say something.
Yes, I was going to say that I saw the lecture demonstration as a way to bring people who had never seen dance, not just children, but also adults who had never been exposed to ballet. And it was just a way to say, here's the way to get inside this world. I'm going to relate it to things that you know about, the things that you are already doing. And then we're just going to hold our backs up and turn our legs out, and everybody's doing ballet. Some of the music that was played would be the most current songs. There would be, Mr. Mitchell would invite people to come up from the audience and be a part of the performance. And then he would also show our humanity in that if something went wrong, let's say that someone came out, I can remember Charmaine Hunter was to do some fouette turns and she didn't do them, and she was like, oh, I'm gonna give up. He was like, no, come on back out here. I know you can do those fouette turns. She's like, no, I can't. He's like, yes, you can. And then he comes out and she does them perfectly, and he shows that the value of practice, of repetition, And it was just magical to be able to, I mean, I know we were always in the wings watching the children who would come on stage, and you could just see how their whole world changed. Number one, being on stage, being in the presence of Arthur Mitchell, the applause that they were getting from their supporters who, oh, you're brave enough to go up, just those kinds of things. And then to hear about the parents who are now have an entree into a world that they just never had witnessed before. It was we were changing lives in such a powerful way every day. It made getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning worth it.
So Karen is actually talking about an important part of the LECDEM that the pandemic killed, actually, which was called social dancing. And you know what, Arthur Mitchell was just trying to get people to understand that the ballet is something that is accessible. And so he would invite kids up to the audience, up to the stage, and he would let them dance to whatever the current song was. And we would see some amazing talent. And then he would break it down and show how it related to ballet, how the arms that were being done in the pony, remember the pony?
Yes.
Were the same thing as port de bras. So he was really trying to make that bridge. Endalyn, any thoughts about the purpose of the LECDEM?
Well, no, I think everyone has expressed it so beautifully, from kind of a personal lens to more of that universal lens of the lecture demonstration being a way to demystify an art form that for many of us as people of color maybe didn't see a direct link or parallel to what we did grow up feeling comfortable and knowing. I also think the wonderful thing about it in the way that it was shaped was that it showed the bandwidth of who and what we were capable of doing. And it showed a respect for the codified form and taught that in many ways in this hour-long time, and then really showed that we have a reverence for the secular and the thing that we were all kind of innately born to do.
Yes. So should we move on to another clip?
Turn the other side. 1. Now this step is called a battement tendu releve. It's to strengthen the metatarsal arch to make it very, very strong so that we can push up against the floor. Okay. Now, how many of you own a cat? It's not bad. How many has a friend that has a cat? How many have seen a cat? Okay, that's good. Now, when a cat jumps and he lands, he doesn't pancake to the floor. He goes and it goes. He doesn't do like that. But when he lands, it goes. You don't hear a sound. He alights. He cushions himself down. And that step that you just saw, that battement tendu releve, is to strengthen that metatarsal arch. It's just like if you saw in jazz dancing, you see someone say, I'm going to do a cat-like walk. Hold this for me a moment, please. Thank you. They wouldn't just walk like this, but they would go, choo. And it's the same thing like in the camel walk. You go, it's like in the Tom and Jerry movies. You want to sneak up on somebody, you go like this. See, you use the metatarsal all the time. You don't walk flat-footed like that. And that's exactly what the dancers are working for all the time. Now we'd like to take that same feeling and take that battement tendu and carry the leg higher up, but still pushing against the floor into what we call a passe. Here we go. Here we go. And
Whoa. I can't help but laugh at that one. It's so wonderful. He's just so excited about teaching these young people something he really loves, and he sees so much, and it's so really very wonderful and so fast. Oh my God. The other thing about this clip that's really stunning to me is that, okay, we're still in pink tights. This is a very, very early videotape of the Dance Theater of Harlem lecture demonstration. We moved into flesh tone tights, I think it was 1972. So this is before 1972. And we also had our
Afros. I love that.
Yes.
I love it.
It's really wonderful to see that that period of time represented. But the content of the lecture demonstration actually has not changed in 54 years. When I first came back to be here to be artistic director, and Keith Saunders was doing the lecture demonstration, I was like, that's verbatim. That's exactly what Arthur Mitchell said in exactly the same way. It was just the most amazing thing to me. But it just is a testament to the lecture demonstration, of course, is an educational item. It's to teach young people. It's not just to make them inspired, but it's to give them information. And it is packed with information. So Endalyn and Karen and Christopher, you both have been leaders of lecture demonstration. What's that like?
You know, it is so cool and fun seeing Mr. Mitchell do it and being able to, like, I still remember it. I could still recite some of those things, particularly the cake, the cat and the pancaking and splatting and the lighting. You know, it's in my memory in a vivid way. And I think to your point that it hasn't changed, because it is truly one of those things that if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, there are certain things about our art form and about classics that you need to honor. And so being steeped in the tradition of it, but not stuck in the tradition, I think was something that Mr. Mitchell was great about doing. And doing that in the lecture demonstration. You know, the art form was the art form, but he did find ways to modernize the delivery of what it was we were doing. And so in doing it and having the freedom to make it transferable to me as a woman, you know, I didn't say, hey, Mary, baby, what's happening? You know, I could have, and that would have been fine too, but there was freedom in how we were able to deliver it. But it was really important to honor what the main thing about the lecture demonstration was, and that was to teach about ballet, this beautiful art form.
Absolutely, absolutely. Christopher, you've been doing the newest version of the lecture demonstration, which I've actually given a different name because lecture demonstration sounds so dry and boring. So we call it now Inside Ballet with Dance Theater of Harlem. But it is essentially it's essentially the same lecture demonstration. Right. I've divided it up because I wasn't comfortable being the lecturer. So I've actually given it to the dancers to speak because I also thought that young people would like to hear from other young people about what this is. And so each section is divided up to a different person. Christopher does the bar, and Amanda Smith usually does the point work, and Michael Buller does the men's. And then we have the lifts, and does the men's and the pirouettes and the lifts across the floor. But Christopher, talk about what it's like to be a leader of the LECDEM.
Well, it's so much fun because right before Virginia goes out to welcome everyone, I always go and ask the company manager, well, what's the age group? Do we have small kids? Do we have teenagers? Who's in the audience? And sometimes she'll say, oh, it's a mix. And so I'm like, okay, so now I'll know how I can kind of adjust the language. Am I gonna be a little more like I'm speaking to younger kids, or am I gonna keep it like a little more current and talk like, you know, I'm always gonna be professional. But sometimes, you know, when I say this is a bar, not a candy bar, not a salad bar, if I know there are teenagers who might be a little, you know, I'm like, and not a drinking bar, you know, I make it fun for them. But I think leading the LECDEM, it's one of the most special things for me, of course, because of the full circle aspect of it. But it's also this thing where we all know how hard it is because we've danced it. So going through it and making it a way that my colleagues who are standing at the bar don't feel like it's a chore. Being out there and making it light, making it fun. We have some inside jokes within the company that I can kind of throw in there within the context of the language that we're using. I will say I miss doing social dance with the children though. I think it's maybe supposed to come back this season, but that was one of the moments where you would see all these children dancing and doing their own thing. But every now and again, there was a really eager kid who knew they had some training and they were going to show their fouette turns. They were going to show their à la seconde turns. They were going to represent whatever school they were in. And I'd be standing there like, I hope somebody's in the wing capturing this to like, someone get this kid a scholarship. I don't know what, like something. So it's really special to carry it on. And like you said, the language is still the same. All the steps, I mean, the point and fifth and passe down, we still give that same step. We still give the temps du battement relevé at a good tempo. But we do it to recorded music. So now, although it takes a little bit of that edge off where you don't know what tempo you're going to get, but it makes it really kind of sure. You know exactly what you have to do. So now you can just show it in the best way. You're not concerned about if it's going to be too fast or not. So.
Absolutely. So did you have to memorize it, or was it already, it's just in you because you've done it so many hundreds of times?
I think because so many times with Keith, like when I was in the ensemble and the ensemble toured for several years, but I was with him for 2.5 years. And I was scheduled to dance every single lec demo at the bar. And because I'm such a bunhead, I would just hold on to every word that was said. So when you actually asked us to do it, I was like, oh, I kind of know this already.
Yeah, talk a little bit about standing there at the bar listening to the lec dem morning after morning. Anyone?
I'll go. I also had an opportunity to deliver the lec demo, and I did memorize it. I can remember recording it and then listening to it in the way that I would study music for a ballet. And because I felt like everything is important. It is so well scripted that I didn't want to miss anything. And it was also, I treated it like a ballet. It was choreographed. And so you can't just leave things out. I enjoyed also, Christopher, when the students would come on, the disco ball would come down. And if you were downstairs, like putting on your earrings or getting ready for the next thing, you run upstairs to see what talent is going to be on stage today and how is Mr. Mitchell going to change that step into ballet. I just cannot wait to see how's he going to do that one. It was also an opportunity to kind of show some of the other, I think Mr. Mitchell was able to, in the way that you presented the lec demo, was able to say, oh, well, maybe you would be a good teacher, or maybe you could take this out and actually do this project on your own and no one else, you could see the growth in the person leading it and actually understand their leadership skills as they were developing and hone them. Some of the corrections or notes that you would get would be, I can remember about emphasis on this. And when you said that was good, but no, more emphasize that. So then you get the lap, or so that, he just was very clear about how to make it engaging and entertaining. And then I think the important part for me was to be able to show that we were bunheads for sure, but let us loose on the dance floor and we're going to give you your money. Right. So it's not just stoic ballet person, but we, our artistry went across all different abilities and skill sets.
That is so wonderful. So he actually coached you as well.
Oh, yes. If you forgot something, yes, you got a note on it. Yes, of course.
The way we got notes after every performance.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Notes about the lecture demonstration.
You're gonna get some notes.
I did the lecture demonstration the first year I was there, and I believe the last year, and I was there for 17 years. And so for me, it was this developmental process, and being in the lec demo every year to Karen's point, it was an opportunity to really hone my craft and to be able to showcase, my ability over a span. It really kind of humbles you as a dancer. I had glorious performances in the Opera House the night before, And then, I'm at a lecture demonstration bar the next morning.
Mhm.
And there's a standard there, right? I mean, it doesn't, and it didn't matter if you were in the Opera House the night before. When you stepped onto the stage for the lecture demonstration the next morning, the standard was the same. And
Exactly.
there was an expectation that the standard would be the same and that you would give your all in that under those circumstances. And I believe that really kind of kept us in the shape and condition that we needed to be in.
Mhm.
It really, certainly it kind of knocked you down a little bit if your ego got too out of hand, right? But also it was just, the love of being with the public and sharing, this is what I do every day of my life. And I'm
Mhm.
so happy to bring that to you. And just for me, remembering that was a spark for me, and hopefully I'm translating that now to another young person who may have a similar idea about their life.
Mhm. Mhm.
I appreciated that entire experience.
There was definitely a feeling that you had a responsibility to these young people that you were performing for at 9 o'clock in the morning to show them something that would change them. And no matter how you felt about being there in your point shoes and how tired you were or stiff or whatever, but that it was not about any of that. It was about giving them something that they could not have seen anywhere else. Yeah.
So true. It was that opportunity to inspire and grow an audience or potential artists themselves, but it also served the purpose of giving us opportunities to grow. For many of us, the lecture demonstration, particularly the rep, was an opportunity for us to do a role that we had not been able or have been cast to do in performances. So it was a chance to audition, if you would, or show that you're ready and able to move into some of the repertoire that was a part of our history as well.
Absolutely. Sanforde, did you have something?
Yes, actually, like them sometimes early in the morning at 7, you're like, wow, okay, I'm super tired. I don't want to do this. But to me, one of the things that I really love about those leg dams is after you take the warm-up class and then you wait, you get like cold after, and then you probably do have like some dancing to do as the second part of the leg dam. So the bar, when the curtain goes up and those kids go really crazy, sometimes they like scream in the morning, that excitement kind of like give you this like adrenaline. You're like, oh, okay, it's a show. And then now you use the bar to kind of just like warm up and like actually get your feet going and like your body moving around and stuff. And this year, for the first time, I was going to do this ballet Orange, actually. And then my first performance of that ballet was in a leg dam, which I think that took some kind of like the edge of like the whole performance in the afternoon. So in the morning, I got like an audience before actually performing that on stage. So it's very interesting that you said it was kind of like auditioning or showing what you had to do. So yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Can I add to that? I specifically remember that because we had a kind of a consistent rep for the LEC demo. We knew what ballets were going. And I saw the shift when Virginia said, oh, we're going to start, she started changing it. And I remember being so happy for Sanforde and for Kamala, who's his ballerina, because I had taught them the pas de deux, and I used to dance the pas de deux as well. And I was like, well, this is so good, because the first time I danced, I had this huge audience and it, all the nerves with any performance. But the LEC demo, you're not in your full costume, which is a unitard. So if you don't feel so great about wearing a unitard, you have your shirt and your tights. And you get to kind of go in front of these children who are going to be grateful and excited about what you're doing, and you get the edge off. And I remember being in the wing, just like so happy, and they danced so beautifully because they felt confident. And LEC demo is just, it gives you that space to get the kinks out a little bit. And now you know what it feels like to be under the light. So we're always grateful when we get to do something and elect demo first before.
Yeah.
It's not always possible, but it's great.
Yeah, there's nothing like performing in front of a theater full of screaming kids. It helps your concentration, but they're also so appreciative. They really certainly love it so much. So when we come back after looking at this next clip, I think let's talk about repertoire.
Now the ladies are dancing sur le point. Many times we take classes together, but we do separate where the men go into men's class and the ladies go into what we call point class. These shoes are nothing but satin and glue and a very, very thin piece of balsam wood. Okay? And if you notice, the dances are always lifted and pulled up. Okay, girls, just wait a moment. And particularly for the ladies, if your weight is down, your feet are going to hurt an awful lot. The minute you pull up, it gets a very light and elegant look. Say like, have you had a class party yet? Yeah. Okay. Now say one of you guys there's a girl in the class you've been looking at for a long time, you know? And she gets all dressed up. She's looking very together and very fabulous. And she walks in the door like this. Nobody pays her any attention. But if she walks in like this, the fellas say, hey, baby, what's happening? Give me 5. That's it. It's quite beautiful to see a human being that is lifted and pulled up and very physically aware of themselves. And this is what the dance is working for all the time. And this is why we advocate that everybody study dancing.
Okay, I think that there's more clip to come.
Something else everyone else likes to do. How many of you have a dog? Oh, that's fabulous. You know, sometimes when you hold a cracker for the dog and he goes like this, and he turns around, everybody likes to turn. Where's Tracy? Tracy, stand up a moment. Now, everyone likes to turn. Now, I start to turn. Watch. And I don't get dizzy. You know the reason why? Because I'm doing what? Very good. You girls have studied dance. That's very good. Now, for the others that don't know what a spot is, let me explain to you. You look at something. I'm fortunate to have a very pretty girl like Tracy. Now, watch. You look as long as you possibly can, bringing your shoulders around, and quickly snapping your head back to the same spot. This way, you don't get dizzy. But if you look around the entire room like this, you're going to fall down, you know? So we take the step which was called what? No, 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 no. What was this called? Right. That's called passe. And this is called what? Spotting. So we take that passe and the spotting, we put it together, and we get what we call a pirouette. We can also lift the young lady not up and down just in place, but also across the stage. Here we go. Let me see from this corner some lips. Here we go. To see after this performance any of you fellas out in the lobby doing any lifts with the girls without a good demi-plie, okay?
It really makes me miss him watching this lecture demonstration. He was one of a kind. Oh my God. What energy and what vision. So the Lec Dem, it was an educational material. It was educational. And so the repertoire that we used to do was very particularly designed to show different styles of dancing so that we could understand what ballet could say. It wasn't just Swan Lake, it was lots of different things. But it was also a chance for us to do repertoire that we were polishing up for performance. As Sanforde said recently, he was doing something on stage in the Lectem that was going to be an evening performance. I remember in the very early days, and Gayle, you can help me with this a little bit. We did Holberg Suite, we did Rhythmatron, we did, what were the other ballets that we did?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, back a few years.
I thought you were going to go on and on. Well, I'm not sure. Didn't we do some pas de deux?
We did some pas de deux. Oh, we did tones.
Oh, and tones.
We did the first movement of tones. That's right.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, that was the piece that Arthur Mitchell choreographed and Tanya Leone wrote the music for it. Oh my gosh, yes, yes. But somebody was saying that the greatest was part of the repertoire for the Lectem. What else was in Lectem?
Possibly later on it was.
Corsair pas de deux was part of it.
Corsair, that's right, yes.
I think that I remember the pas de trois from Forces.
Right.
Because I remember, coming across on the diagonal, the two lifts that I was looking for at the end was the sit lift with Gayle and Homer. And then the very last one was China upside down in a swastika, and he was holding her by her hips and her head was down, his back and her legs were up, and the kids would go like, whoa, because it looked like he was going to go all the way back and flip over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I remember the pas de trois from Forces being in it.
Okay, okay.
The breakdown, the final movement in the Lectem in the early
From
2000s.
Forces, yeah.
The last movement, yeah. I think that maybe replaced the end of Rhythmatron. Remember?
So the first year that I came to Dance Theater of Harlem, Carl Shook, I was part of Carl Shook's last class. And actually, that was the first year that they established the workshop ensemble. And that's when the repertoire was changed and sort of standardized to extract the old and the new. And it was like this marriage of you know, the former company and this emerging company. And so to freshen up the lecture demonstration repertoire and to give dancers more exposure to new rep, they started bringing in those different ballets, and that was when the greatest was brought to the ensemble, and then the company started to perform it as well. So there was this amazing opportunity to start doing some of the pieces that were performed with the company as well. So if the company needed dancers to do lecture demonstrations, they could reach into the school and work those dancers into the company lecture demonstrations, and they would already know the rep.
Wow. So another purpose for this.
Continuity, so that, because at that point, you know, dancers, some of the older dancers were leaving, and then new dancers from the school, new generations of dancers started to move actually into the company. So it was a very pivotal time.
It's kind of like an apprentice moment. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. Again, I think thinking about all of the multi-purposes of the lecture demonstration, by the time I was leading it, there was a further learning opportunity and almost a relationship between history, African-American history, and dance. The rep for the lecture demonstrations that I led really was all about a curricular. It was about the African diaspora.
Wow.
And so the rep was really created specifically for the lecture demonstration and was accompanied by narrative that gave a history of dance from all the way back from the cakewalk and the ring shout up to through the 70s, where we did incorporate Louis Johnson and Forces of Rhythm, and all the way to hip hop, and where some of the dancers actually choreographed sections of the piece. And so we talked about the origins of hip hop being in the Bronx. And so it was a further opportunity to learn and teach, and also tie our history to what it was we were doing on the stage.
That is amazing. And these were never recorded. So there is that one I saw a glimpse of.
There is one.
Yeah, understanding the repertoire and how you put that together was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I have to mention Shout. Shout was like an amazing solo performance that always, to Endalyn's point of, the African diaspora, but it was really an opportunity for the woman to really show her power and strength and beauty. And I just remember Thera and some other sort of prominent dancers who, it was quite a moment in the lecture demonstration performance.
Absolutely.
The first time I saw Shout, that role was done by a man, Bill Scott.
Bill Scott, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I think Karen did Shout as well.
I did Shout, and I'm gonna tell you, having been reared Catholic in the South, and I can remember there's a part where there's like a 16 count improv, and I was just like, you know what, WTS, what's the step? I think I don't know what we're talking about here. I'm Episcopalian and Catholic. I don't really get this thing. For me, it was really I can remember Louis coming back, Karen, I can tell you choreographed that. That was not shouting, dear. That wasn't shouting. And I was like, oh my God. So then Bill and Paul would take me to Baptist churches when we were on the road, so I could go and kind of
do some research
about research what was going on. I will say that them keeping me in that role forced me to grow and allow that there was another way of performing, and you can, just like you can learn ballet, you can learn this too. But I'm so glad when I stopped having to do it.
Yeah, I used to do Shout too, and it was the hardest thing. It was hard finding it. It was hard finding it. But one of the things that I wanted to do, I really wanted to do more adagio work, and I had to beg Arthur Mitchell to let me do Pas de Neuf, and it was something. Pas de Neuf is the second movement of his Holberg suite, and it's a long adagio for 9 dancers. There are 2 gentlemen and 1 lady. And, I did learn why I wasn't doing a lot of adagio work through doing that, because it was so hard for me. I didn't understand how to do it. I didn't know how to, that balance at the end when you just go,
And do you remember Adagietto?
Adagietto was never in Lec Dem.
It was in our Lec Dem.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mark Lehman, we had a beautiful cast of Adagietto. I think Endalyn, didn't you do Adagietto?
No, I did not. I don't think I ever did Adagietto. Kind of like Virginia. I was praying for Moving Slow at some point.
Yeah.
I was in the company.
There was a period in which, and it was, to Virginia's point, it was so helpful. There's some really intricate partnering going on, and very slow.
And very slow, sustained.
And precise. So yeah, it was a beautiful ballet.
I remember Karen Henry doing it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, she was extraordinary.
So favorite moments from a Lec Dem. What are your favorite moments? Any of them?
Well, I think my favorite is probably when so I talked about the social dancing, but we close now currently with Mother Popcorn, the first movement from Robert Garland's Return. We used to, in the ensemble, we closed with Nubach. But either way, we were always able to kind of tell the dancer or the audience, we're going to take some of those social dances that you showed us. You see how you get to move this way. We get to move that way as well. And they see it in return. So what my favorite thing would be to do is when I was cast to do the principal in Popcorn, I have this long kind of freestyle. I would specifically look at dances that the children were doing, and I'd take one of those dances and find a way in the wing to put it into my like improv moment. And I'd hear their reaction in the audience and the screaming or the giggling or the and cheering. And it was just so rewarding just to give that back to them. So that was my favorite moment.
That is a nice one.
One of my favorite moment recently is just, I think we were in some city and we had like a technical difficulty. And actually like the dancers come to see a show, whether or not like they come to see the show. And we were able to put like this like small lecture demonstration, like 2 dancers on stage. And for some reason, the kids still had fun, just like still have this feeling of this was a show that they were looking at. After we did pirouettes, they were like screaming like they just saw somebody do 7 pirouettes and like double tours on stage. And that I was just like, wow, they will just be happy by just seeing people like us move on stage and moving our bodies. And that was very interesting. I really love that moment.
Yeah, I think the way that kids react to what's going on stage is something that's so really precious, because no audience is the same. There was a time, remember we were, I think Sanforde, you were here, and Christopher, we were out in Arizona and we did it in Spanish and in English. Lynette would translate it into Spanish.
We were in New Mexico.
New Mexico, yes. Yeah, and so then you got this double effect of people who are hearing it in their own language and seeing what's going on. It was really just a very magical kind of lectem that happened. Just simplified.
We even did like them during COVID time. Online, remember?
We did lectem over Google Meets. That was a major scary moment.
Yes, we had to turn off different cameras, and then different one of us, we had our schedules on like when to come on and come off. And me teaching hip hop in my living room to like it was.
We will not be stopped.
Right. Will not be stopped.
Okay, so go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to say one of my favorite moments is when we were able to make up lists. And so Mel Tomlinson and I, we love to play around with stuff. And I know that we started out where I would start out on the floor, I'm sitting on my bottom with my toes pointed and reaching up in this preparation. And he's standing up and takes my hand and pulls me from the floor into a bird lift.
I remember
that thing because it was just so exciting, and just, he was like, come on, Karen. He'd call me Karen, come on. And we would practice it before, and when we would do it on stage, it would just be such a miraculous thing. Like, how did she go from the floor? Now she's in a bird lift and she's just standing there, and he's walking around. Again, it's about the reaction of the kids and how you're inspiring lives. And I had that same feeling. I mean, he and I were like, we want to create a lift like the one that Gayle and Homer do, that they're so perfect every time in this sit lift, something that outstanding. Because when you would do that lift every time, just sit there, and he would just walk around and like no care in the world. And he's holding her by her buns straight up over his head. And it seemed like it came out of nowhere. And just the magic of it all, and creating that magic and sharing it with others.
The response too was, it was so exciting to even do that, just to accomplish that. I was just very, very happy that we could excite the children in the audience.
What did it feel like to do that lift, Gayle?
Scary as all get out.
So as Karen said, it's a moment where the lady jumps and the gentleman comes in underneath her and takes her by her behind and lifts her straight over his head. So you're how many feet off the ground? Oh, 5 or 6 feet off the ground, sitting with your legs crossed and toes pointed and looking just calm and cool as a. I missed the sit lift many times, let me tell you.
I don't
did
think
it
I
work?
ever missed it, but there were some close encounters, and I have finger marks to prove.
You know, and I don't know if you guys did it, but we would, when he would say, we would be mouthing the words softly in the back along the whole line. Hey, Mary, baby, what's happening? And you know, I was roaring, but we would be repeating, you know, right along with him, the words that we heard, the cat and the pounce and all of those things that we heard all the time. And it just, you know, it's early in the morning, and some people, you know, there are people who have to have their coffee, and so maybe you're a little bit grumpy. And so that just kept us, you know, with the combined with the audience reaction and then the camaraderie amongst us as artists who are on stage together. It's incredible work in the moment, in the present moment, feeling how we are changing lives was what got us through. I mean, we did them all the time. It felt like every day, every city, everywhere we went. And I mean, it's just something we were going to do them. So we learned how to have fun doing them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's another maybe purpose of this, is the camaraderie, to building that esprit de corps, as they say.
Absolutely. I really appreciated being on stage with all the dancers. That sense of connection. There was this pride that would take over, the unity of us all. I remember, and not just in lecture demonstration, but we used to make them gasp when the curtain would go up, you know.
That's right.
Dance Theater of Harlem just had that ability that when the curtain went up, like on Concerto Barocco or something like that, you could just hear the audience gasp. They had never seen it, or in some cases, you know. And then that moment as a dancer, to be standing next to, you know, your peers and really your family, because we, you know, for us, we were family, you know, we spent so much time together. So
Yeah,
that was really my favorite. And when I really sort of think about exactly what moment, you know, there were all these other amazing moments, but that whenever I sort of was able to be aware of that beautiful connection in the moment, it just kind of got me through, you know, so.
And there was also, and I completely agree. I mean, there are so many moments in the lecture demonstration that stay with me and bring a smile to my face. I think the camaraderie was amazing. One of my favorite moments was also kind of a friendly competition that Mr. Mitchell would build up. Remember the plucks? Like, he would set it up. The dancers are going to stand on one side of the stage and the ladies are going to stand on the other, and then they're going to run, and then they're going to leap as far as they can, and they're going to be snatched out of the air. And he would build it up like each one of us was going to work to do it bigger or further, you know, and just push ourselves. And it was just such a fun, exhilarating moment to go for it. And the way he set it up, you had to push yourself because you didn't want to let the audience down. You wanted it to be as exciting as he explained it.
And Endalyn would win every time.
I was gonna say,
yeah, just the amazing jump.
You're like the downstage woman.
Yeah,
and she would take off from the center of the stage and jump all the way over to the side on stage right.
There was no competition.
Yeah, it was.
I was never able to make that happen. Keith was just like, he knew, we're not putting Crispin's little self out there. We're not going to ask the family. We're not going to do it. But one thing you said this beforehand, Virginia, before we got live, but I learned during the lectum, because we, as the dancers, we had to lay down our own floor, put our bars together at whatever school or gym we went to. But you were saying that y'all didn't even have Marley and stuff. So it just speaks to how it's grown over the years. Now we get to the theater and we have bars set up and everything. So wonderful. But we learned how to be team players by, the women were on one side putting the bars together and we were all laying our own Marley, and
you make it happen.
Yeah.
So do you guys, who was in the group who did the Lectam at Rikers Island? Anybody here? That was another experience. But Arthur Mitchell believed that this was something that should happen, and everybody told him, don't, that's terrible, that's crazy. Don't take all those young women into that jail. You were there.
Yes.
And it was a little bit
Yes,
scary,
yes.
but it also was extremely uplifting, you know.
It was, they really calmed down after a while. And then, and Arthur was there standing, protecting us anyway.
Protecting us. But he really believed that this is something that was important for these people to give them something in jail that they couldn't experience. And it was pretty rough in the beginning, but they did calm down and they listened to him and they were full of applause at the end. It was an amazing experience.
You know, Virginia and I are from the old school, and
way back.
but there are other dancers too that have supported us too. And I belong to a group called the 152nd Street Black Ballet Legacy. And the 4 women that I work with are Lydia, Marcia, Carlia, and Sheila.
Sheila Rohan, yes.
And we often talk about all the things that you're talking about now, just repeating all of the wonderful remembrances of Arthur Mitchell and all the dancers that came through our doors. And it's just overwhelming. It's such a, you know, when I listen and look at Arthur on the stage, it brings tears to my eyes because it stays with you. It
stays with you.
Lifelong blessing. You know, it's wonderful.
It really does.
Thankful to be here, and my sisterhood is too.
Yes,
we're building another monolith.
It goes on. It continues. It continues. It must continue.
Yes.
Gayle, that's really beautiful. And I think those are beautiful words for us to end this little remembrance of Arthur Mitchell's lecture demonstration. I don't know if there are any questions. I don't see any questions coming in. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us reminisce about this transformational experience, Arthur Mitchell's lecture demonstration. It really has made us different people and has touched so many lives across the world. So thank you for tuning in, and come to our Sunday matinee on Sunday afternoon. It'll be live streamed from 3 to 4. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Virginia.
you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great
Bye,
evening.
everyone.
Take care.
Great to see you. Thanks for being here.